start off, determine whether you're going to build it in the ground, in the sky, or underwater. I'm going to showcase the build at ground level, as that's the cheapest, and it's also my favorite. But if you decide to build in one of the other two places, you'll need a couple of extra stacks of non-flammable building blocks. But beware, if you follow along underground, there can't be any caves within 16 blocks of the villagers, or else the farm probably won't work properly, as the golems may spawn in the caves instead of where we want them. But there are some real pros and cons to building in the water or the sky. First, the pros to building in the water. I think it looks incredible. Rather than having some weird hole in the middle of your field, or something strange in the sky, you can turn the farm into a unique destination for your world. That's extremely stealthy in comparison to the other options. And best yet, you don't even need any water sources. You can put holes here and here on either side of your farm to push the iron golems to the desired location. Secondly, as long as the lake is big enough, or the ocean, you don't need to mess around with caves or iron golems spawning on the surface weirdly. And finally, if something goes wrong with it, you can super easily troubleshoot and determine what you need to fix. Especially if you use glass for walls, you can kind of just swim around and see what's going on. Along that same vein though, if you accidentally break a block when you're building the water base, it can accidentally flow in and push the zombie out of alignment, or it could potentially turn the lava source into obsidian. Another problem if it's built out in the water is that it can be annoying if you quickly want to go and get some iron. You'd either need a boat, or depth strider, or a dolphin to make the trip faster. And lastly, building out in the water is probably the hardest of the three potential spots, as draining the area needed for the farm can be a pain in the butt. Even if you have sponges, once they get wet, you'll need to go and dry them off, either in a furnace or bring them to the nether by placing them and picking them back up. Regardless, let's move on to the sky. The first major benefit of using the sky is that you will not hear the stupid villager noises and the iron golems dying constantly. And another great benefit is that you could potentially modify the killing area to have them drop down to the ground rather than dying up near the spawning platform, so that they can exit the villager's vision range and they're actually able to spawn a new golem quicker. However, that does kind of take away from the first major benefit of not being able to hear them. In my opinion, there's a lot of problems with building in the sky. First, if there's ever any issues with the farm, it can be difficult to service, and you may need to build a lot of temporary scaffolding to repair or even figure out what the heck is going on. Second, it's kind of an eyesore to have something just floating above your base just all the time. It's just there. And if you choose to have the killing chamber up there, it can be super annoying to have to go all the way up just to get the items. Either have to build a ladder or some kind of elevator, which can just be a pain in the butt and also add extra work. But all in all, that's why I vastly prefer building under the ground. As although you have to be careful not to build beside caves, it is by far the cheapest to build, as you just use the resources you got from digging the hole to build the farm. And you can just cover it back up with dirt so you don't even have to look at it. Not to mention, getting your items is still super convenient since the chest is just accessible from the surface. And something I didn't even think about is actually getting the villagers into the underground is just significantly easier than having to build a massive rail staircase to get them into the sky or bridge across a lake. So for that reason alone, I think I would almost all the time put it underground. But depending on how and where your base is, certain designs might make more sense for you. I should briefly mention that in Bedrock, building these too close to other villages seems to cause real problems, as all the nearby villagers' job blocks bells can cause a whole host of new problems for the farm, which can lead to iron golems spawning at unexpected locations or not at all. Anyways, with that being said, let's get started with the build. For people building underground, start by breaking a 7x7 area and dig it 7 deep. And for those building in the sky, start at least 16 blocks off the ground, otherwise you run the risk of iron golems spawning on the surface. In the center of your 7x7 area, place a boat, and then come over to one of its sides and make a staircase up to the surface. We're going to use these stairs to bait down a zombie into the boat. Don't worry about adding a zombie on Bedrock. There's no fear mechanic on Bedrock, so villagers will not spawn an iron golem just because they're scared. Make sure to put a little 3x3 roof over the zombie just so he doesn't burn once it becomes daylight. Some of you might be thinking, don't we need to put a name tag on the zombie to stop him from despawning? The answer is no. On Java Edition, if entities are in a boat, they will not despawn. Next up, regardless of your version, place a ring of beds around the center, like so, with the head of the pillows facing towards the middle and the foot of the bed against the walls. This prevents any chance of the villagers waking up inside the 3x3 in the center. On Java, make sure to add in 4 slabs here, here, there, and there as well. This will break the line of sight for the villagers and allow them to sleep at night, which is a necessary requirement for iron golems to spawn. And if you play on Bedrock, make sure to add in your workstations around the wall like so. Now head on back over to the stairs we made, and we're going to fill it in just like this. We're going to leave a few blocks just so that we can have space for our collection system. Now jump on down into the center with some of the blocks that you got from mining your hole, and start filling it in like so. This will end up being the iron golem spawning platform. Then go ahead and jump over into the gap we left and place down the double chest. And then we'll just place the hoppers going into the main hopper that enters the chest. Before we finish off the spawning platform, let's go ahead and add in the villagers. This can be the most tedious process, but if you add a nice minecart track from either your villager breeder or from a village, then it can be quite simple to just minecart them over. Just make sure you don't forget to go down and break out the minecart once you're done. Keep in mind, to make this functional, you will need a minimum of 3 villagers on Java and a minimum of 10 villagers on Bedrock Edition. I do recommend having 10 villagers for both Java and Bedrock, seeing as that just increases the efficiency, but do as you please. It's also probably worth mentioning that you shouldn't use any green coat villagers for this farm. Continuing on here, I should mention that on Bedrock, if you opted not to put in a zombie, then you will need a light source down here just so no mobs kill your villagers. So go ahead and come on up to the iron golem spawning platform and just do a quick check and make sure that there's no more holes for when you're putting your villagers down there. And then we'll place a glass block like so on top of the chest and a few dirt blocks on top of that. Now we'll place 5 signs down to contain our lava source, which will kill the iron golems. Now place 2 water sources in the 2 back corners that'll push the iron golems into the lava source. And if you play on Java, make sure to hoe these blocks here so that iron golems can't get stuck in the walls there and slow down the rates of your farm. Hello big buddy, how's your day? Oh, not very good. And I feel like I should mention it again. You should always do a double check and make sure that there's no caves that might ruin your rates, because if an iron golem gets stuck down there, no golems will spawn in the top chamber until the other golem is dealt with. Here are some important notes to make a great functional working bedrock iron farm. 1. Don't build in a village, as having villagers, additional workstations, or bells within 150 blocks of your farm can very easily stop it from spawning golems at all. This is because villagers outside may connect to the fletching stables within your farm, and your villagers inside may connect to job blocks outside the farm. And for whatever reason, if your villagers are not working for a day, they will stop producing iron. But why can there not be any bells nearby? Well, because if you move the center of what's considered the village, you're changing where the iron golems can actually spawn, making it so that they spawn outside of our intended spawning platform. So, if you build outside of a village, away from any job blocks, and you have at least 10 villagers who are all connected to job blocks inside the farm, once the first day has passed where 75% of the villagers interacted with their job block, so they worked, after their next sleep, they will be considered capable of spawning iron golems, and the farm will begin to work. From that point, you'll just have some stray cats that can spawn inside your spawning area, but after you move 2 of those stray cats down into the villager holding area, it will no longer spawn any more cats. Lastly, to ensure that iron golems don't spawn on the surface where we don't want them, make sure that there's a nice flat area that matches at least the height of the rim of your farm, at least 10 blocks away in all directions from the rim. To prove the effectiveness of the farm, I'm just going to go AFK here beside one of the modules, and we'll see how many iron ingots I get in the first hour. Wow, we got even more than I expected, and it's a beautiful number at that for a beautiful farm. And speaking of beautiful, if you wanted to go check out this build that took me over 100 hours, where I tried to determine how long you should spend building in Minecraft, I would absolutely love that. And if you wanted to leave a comment on any farms you'd like me to cover, that'd be great. Thanks so much for watching, bye bye.